Hello, in this video I'm going to explain how to realize multiple rows of figured bass numbers under one lowest sounding tone. I will use this section for our example. The first step is to enter the notes that are expressed by the figured bass. In this case, there's a 7/6 and a 4 with a dash. The 7 and the 6 are already present. 7, 6 in the soprano, a seventh and a sixth above the lowest sounding tone. A 4 or any number with a dash means write in the note that interval above and keep that note no matter what else moves around at that moment. So a fourth above C would be F, so possibly F in the alto. Now we have our 4, and it's held through the second eighth note, which is represented by the dash. So how do we decide what the tenor sings? Well, now we want to find out where the least dissonant moment is within this beat to decide that, because our ear will gravitate towards the resolution, the less dissonant sound. This chart can help you determine which moment is the least dissonant. Notice that the 7 is represented here as the least stable or most dissonant, and the 6 is more stable. So we want to ignore the 7 and incorporate the 6 in our choice of what that fourth note should be. Now I should say that dissonance doesn't mean ugly. There's nothing wrong with any of these intervals. It's just the tendency of our ear to want to hear a note resolve. So we're just going with that, the physics of sound, the overtone series. Okay, so if we ignore the 7 and use the 6 in our calculation, it turns out we have a 6th above and a 4th above. So you might recognize that as something that implies second inversion. So we're going to use our knowledge of how to voice a second inversion triad to finish this. With a second inversion triad, we normally double the fifth or the lowest sounding tone. So in my tenor voice, I will double the lowest sounding tone, which is C. And everything is there. So notice at this moment, if we ignore the 7 above just for a moment, we have the 6th above and the 4th above, and we've doubled the bass, just like we would a second inversion. So the steps again are to enter the notes that are expressed by the numbers, determine the moment within that bass note or lowest sounding tone that is the least dissonant, and then if that implies an inversion, then go with what you know about doubling for inversions.